Remembering Connecticut, Prudence Crandall. When the Quaker schoolmistress Prudence Crandall agreed to open a school for young ladies in Canterbury, Connecticut in 1831, the prominent citizens of that little community were delighted. They helped her to buy a schoolhouse, served on her board, and sent their daughters to study with her. But all that changed when Prudence Crandall admitted a young black woman as a student in her school. The ensuing conflict, followed closely throughout the country, revealed hidden facets of a Connecticut community, raised legal questions of national importance, and served as a milestone in the struggle for equal rights for blacks. As Prudence Crandall told it, the story began when a young black woman lent her a copy of the anti-slavery newspaper, The Liberator.
The condition of the colored people, both slaves and free, was truthfully portrayed, and the immediate emancipation of the millions of slaves in the United States boldly advocated. Having been taught from early childhood the sin of slavery, my sympathies were greatly aroused. Sarah Harris, a respectable young woman and a member of the church, wished to attend my school. I allowed her to enter as one of my pupils. By this act, I gave great offense. I very soon found that some of my school would leave, not to return if the colored girl was retained.
Faced with the threat that white parents would withdraw their children from her school, Prudence Crandall decided to reopen as a high school for young colored ladies and misses. Canterbury reacted to this news with shock. An angry town meeting condemned the project. Some opponents accused Crandall of stepping out of the hallowed precincts of female propriety through her reckless disregard of the rights and feelings of her neighbors. When a delegation argued her leveling principles might result in intermarriage between the whites and blacks, she replied defiantly, "Moses had a black wife." 15 or so black children arrived and began to study at Crandall School. Their well was poisoned, and when they went out on school walks, they were pelted with stones, manure, and chicken heads. Crandall's antagonists persuaded the state legislature to pass what came to be known as the Crandall Law.
No person shall set up or establish in this state any school, academy, or literary institution for the instruction or education of colored persons who are not inhabitants of this state, without the consent in writing of the select men of the town.
Crandall decided to defy the law. Furthermore, she and her supporters agreed not to post bond, thereby forcing those who arrested her to lock her up in jail overnight, much to their dismay. Her lawyers argued that the Crandall Law deprived free blacks of rights guaranteed by the United States Constitution to all citizens, such as the right to travel freely. But the presiding judge denied that blacks were citizens.
To my mind, it would be a perversion of terms to say that slaves, free blacks, or Indians were citizens, within the meaning of that term as used in the Constitution.
And Canterbury's attorneys told the court that when the Constitution was adopted,
the white men were entitled to particular privileges above the colored men. Civil and political rights belonged, by the laws of all the states, to the former, not to the latter. The African race, as a body, were then slaves, and held in bondage by those who made the Constitution.
Crandall's opponents lost in court, but on a narrow technicality that left unresolved the issue of black rights that Crandall had hoped to test. Crandall's opponents then escalated their violence. A group of unknown men silently surrounded the school at night with clubs and iron bars. With a deafening noise, they attacked, scarring the walls, bursting open the doors, destroying 5 window sashes, and breaking 90 panes of glass. Crandall finally decided to close the school and leave Canterbury. But her efforts had not been in vain. The incident caused many to examine their own consciences. The movement against slavery grew rapidly in the Canterbury area, as elsewhere in the succeeding years. Public opinion came to regard with shame the hostility to her school and the racial attitudes it revealed. The very legislator who had originally proposed the Crandall Law later declared,
I could weep tears of blood for the part I took in the matter. I now regard the law as utterly abominable.
he was among those who in 1838, 5 years after the passage of the Crandall Law, led the Connecticut state legislature to vote its repeal.